Hello and welcome to the BIS talks on road traffic safety management systems as provided in ISO 39001 Road Traffic Safety Management System. In India, 2/3 of road-related accidents and deaths are reported between the age group 15 to 44 years. India has just 1% of the world's vehicles but accounts for 10% of all road crash deaths. Road traffic accidents constitute the highest percentage of deaths due to unnatural accidents. In India, nearly 5 lakh accidents take place every year, and it takes precious life of about 1.5 lakh of our citizens, and about 5 lakh people get seriously injured. Our country loses about 75,000 crore rupees every year due to road accidents. It also takes precious life of trained and competent employees of the organization. The main cause of accidents and crashes are due to human errors. There are some common behaviors of people which cause accidents. These are overspeeding, drunken driving, distractions to driver, red light jumping, avoiding safety gears like seat belts and helmets, non-adherence to lane driving and overtaking in a wrong manner, bad roads and designs, lack of awareness of safety measures, lack of post-crash response. Underutilization of road safety management system. You might be pondering about the solutions to these road safety concerns. Let's find out from DDG Standardization 1 of BIS.
Road safety is an issue of great concern for all individuals, whether we acknowledge it or not. Each year, more than 1.3 million people lose their lives on roads, and 20 to 50 million people suffer severe injuries. It is crucial for all the road users, including pedestrians, cyclists, passenger car drivers, truck and bus drivers, vehicle manufacturers and policemen, to take responsibility in order to reduce accidents and fatalities. Once this responsibility is understood and embraced by all stakeholders and road users, we can expect a significant decrease in the number of yearly road accidents and deaths. The International Organization for Standardization, the ISO, recognized the seriousness of this matter, and over 54 countries participated in developing ISO 39001. This standard outlines comprehensive approaches to reduce road accidents and fatalities. It guides organizations in developing quality road safety policies, setting objectives, and implementing monitoring measures at all levels to improve road safety. By applying ISO 39001, all entities can contribute to reducing road accidents and deaths. This standard is versatile and can be beneficial for any organization connected to road usage. By implementing it, we can work collectively to enhance road safety and protect lives.
The impact of these road accidents is not only the tragic loss of human lives, but overall impact on the families of the victims and the larger implications on the economy of the country. Deaths and injuries place heavy burden on economy and household incomes, strain the health, insurance, and legal systems. Large number of persons lose jobs after road accident. Injuries and disabilities. Families are driven deeper into poverty by loss of the bread earner or by expenses on prolonged treatment of victims' injuries.
India is facing growing urbanization. By 2030, we expect 40% of our population to live in urban areas. And clearly, because of growing population in cities, cities are also facing challenges in terms of providing mobility, clean environment and other infrastructure and other services to people who are moving into cities. This requires development of lot of new infrastructure, especially for mobility and road safety. In fact, the infrastructure that is created for mobility must also be safe. Not only that it meets the clean environment requirement, gives access to people, but also it has to be safe. BIS has taken this initiative and established TED 35 committee, and the committee's main function is to ensure that various organizations which are involved with safe infrastructure, safe mobility options, whether it is government organizations or other organizations, private sector, consumers, responsible for operating transport systems, all these organizations can be guided through BIS guidelines to ensure delivery of safe infrastructure and delivery of safe mobility options.
Let us explore the requirements of road traffic safety management systems, that is RTSMS, and find out what is ISO 39001.
ISO 39001 Road Traffic Safety Management Systems Requirements with Guidance for Use specifies the requirements to enable an organization that interacts with road traffic system to reduce death and serious injuries related to road traffic crashes which it influences. The requirements in this standard include development and implementation of an appropriate RTS policy, development of RTS objectives, and action plans which take into account legal and other requirements to which the organization subscribes, and information about elements and criteria related to RTS that the organization identifies as those which it can control and those which it can influence. ISO 39001 is a management system standard for the safety of road traffic, whose purpose is to reduce the number of serious and fatal accidents. ISO 39001 also has a social role, safer mobility, and in accordance with the requirements of the standard, brings security benefits for the whole society. That's why, as all of the new generation standards, ISO 39001 contributes to societal security. To implement a road traffic safety management system, RTSMS, any organization must first establish its boundaries and determine where the RTSMS applies within the organization. They must identify both internal and external factors that can impact the system, as well as the needs and expectations of stakeholders involved. The following question to address is, what are the internal and external factors that can influence the RTSMS of an organization? These factors will differ from one organization to another. Internal factors refer to elements such as the organization's culture, structure, governance, technology, strategic decisions, and long-term vision. On the other hand, external factors encompass the broader environment in which the organization operates, including social, cultural, legal, political, regulatory, statutory, and economic aspects at various levels: local, state, national, and even international. To ensure compliance with both customer preferences and relevant statutory and regulatory requirements, the organization should also identify all interested parties that have a stake in the RTSMS. Following that, the organization is required to define the boundaries and applicability of the RTSMS in order to establish its scope. During this process, the organization should particularly take into account the external and internal issues mentioned in clause 4.1, the requirements stated in clause 4.2, and the planning requirements outlined in clause 6. Furthermore, the organization must identify the outcomes of its RTSMS with the primary goal of reducing and eventually eliminating the number of fatalities and serious injuries resulting from road traffic crashes that the organization has the ability to influence. This scope must be documented and made accessible as part of the system's information.
The subsequent clause in which RTSMS is leadership, which entails establishing the organization's vision statement, also known as the quality policy, and assigning organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities.
This clause emphasizes leadership and commitment from top management, requiring them to establish RTS policy and objectives in line with the organization's strategic direction, integrate RTS management system requirements into business processes, ensure availability of necessary RTS resources, aim to eliminate death and serious injury in road traffic crashes while setting interim RTS results, collaborate with stakeholders for a safe road traffic system and achieving RTS objectives, adopt a process approach, ensuring transparency and involvement at all levels, prioritize strategic action based on relevant information, communicate the importance of effective RTS management and compliance, provide resources for establishing and improving the RTS management system, focus on RTS results to achieve intended outcomes, ensure compliance with relevant laws and promote contribution to the system's effectiveness, encourage a culture of continual improvement and support relevant management roles. Another important subclause is policy. Top management shall establish an RTS policy that is appropriate to the purpose of the organization, provide a framework for setting RTS objectives and RTS targets, includes a commitment to satisfy applicable requirements, include a commitment to continual improvement of the RTS management system. This policy should be documented, communicated internally, and made available to the relevant parties. Another aspect requirement is organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities. Top management shall ensure that the responsibilities and authorities for relevant roles are assigned and communicated within the organization. Top management shall assign the responsibility and authority for ensuring that the RTS management system conforms to the requirements of this standard, reporting on the performance of the RTS management system to top management, including recommendations for improvement. The subsequent crucial clause outlined in the standard is clause number 6, planning. This clause encompasses actions to address risks and opportunities, RTS performance factor, and establishing objectives and targets.
This clause outlines the organization's process for reviewing its current RTS performance, identifying risks and opportunities, selecting relevant RTS performance factors, and planning to achieve RTS objectives and targets. The review of current RTS performance considers the organization's context and leadership, with specific focus on processes, activities, and functions impacting RTS. Quantification of current RTS performance and assessment of potential future impacts are conducted based on relevant RTS performance factors. Next, in planning for the RTS management system, the organization considers issues and requirements from context clause to identify risks and opportunities that must be addressed to achieve the intended outcomes, prevent undesired effects, and drive continual improvement. The organization then plans actions to address these risks and opportunities, integrating them into RTS management system processes and evaluating their effectiveness. The organization is required to identify and utilize RTS performance factors, considering the organization's context and identified risks and opportunities from clause 4. The factors consist of: first, risk exposure factors including distance traveled, road traffic volume, and volume of products, services provided by the organization. Second, final safety outcome factors such as number of deaths and serious injuries. Third, intermediate safety outcome factors related to road network, planning, design, and use, including road design and safe speed, appropriate road use based on vehicle type, personal safety, equipment usage, safe driving speed, driver fitness, journey planning, vehicle safety, proper authorization for driving, removal of unfit vehicles and drivers, and post-crash response and recovery. If the mentioned RTS performance factors are insufficiently relevant, the organization should develop additional ones by investigating relevant road traffic incidents and identifying RTS deficiencies. Based on these RTS performance factors, the organization must specify detailed elements and criteria to determine, monitor, and measure RTS objectives and targets. This information should be documented and regularly updated. The organization is further required to establish RTS objectives at relevant functioning and levels, ensuring they are consistent with the RTS policy, measurable if feasible, and compliant with the applicable requirement. These objectives must be monitored, communicated, and updated when necessary. The organization should maintain documented information on the RTS objectives and targets. In establishing and reviewing RTS objectives and targets, the organization should consider its risks and opportunities from 6.2, RTS performance factors from 6.3, elements and criteria from 6.3, and account for its management capacity. Additionally, the organization should consider technological options, financial, operational, and business requirements, as well as the perspective of interested parties. For achieving the RTS objectives and targets, the organization should determine the necessary actions, required resources, responsible parties, completion timelines, and the evaluation methods for results. These action plans must be documented and reviewed as needed.
Now comes the do section, where one has to go beyond planning to virtually implement what all has been conceived and envisaged. The requirements for do part has been defined in the Clause 7 support and Clause 8 operations of the standard.
The Clause 7, that is support, helps with RTSMS operations by ensuring competence and communication with interested parties, and also handles the documentation, control, and retention of necessary information. Here comes subclause 7.1, coordination, where the organization is required to coordinate with relevant levels, functions, and interested parties to maximize benefits from RTS actions. This includes internal and external consultation to achieve RTS objectives and targets. Moving on, we have subclause 7.2, resources. Here, the organization needs to determine and provide the necessary resources, including human resources, infrastructure, technology, and finances for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and improving the RTS management system to achieve RTS objectives and targets. In subclause 7.3, competence, the organization shall identify the required competence of individuals affecting RTS performance, ensure they possess appropriate education, training, or experience, and take actions to acquire competence when necessary. The organization must retain documented information as evidence of competence. Now in subclause 7.4, awareness, persons involved in RTS related work should be aware of the RTS policy, their contribution to the RTS management system's effectiveness, the implications of non-conformance, and relevant information and lessons learned from major road traffic incidents. In subclause 7.5, communication, the organization should determine the need for internal and external communication relevant to the RTS management system, including what to communicate, when, and with whom. A communication process should be established considering various levels and functions of the organization and interested parties to promote continual improvement of RTS performance. Lastly, in subclause 7.6, documented information, the RTS management system should include required documented information as per the standard and any additional information deemed necessary by the organization for effective RTS management. The organization must ensure proper identification, description, format review, and approval of documented information. Now comes the operation part, in which the organization has to go beyond planning to virtually implement what all has been conceived and envisaged. Operational planning and control. The organization shall plan, implement, control, and maintain the processes needed to meet the EMS requirements by establishing and implementing the operating criteria for the processes and communicate it to relevant persons doing work under the control of the organization. Emergency preparedness and response. The organization shall plan, implement, and maintain the processes needed to prepare for and respond to potential emergency situations identified during the risk assessment analysis.
Next, we move to Clause 9 of the standard, which centers around assessing the organization's RTS performance and the effectiveness of the RTSMS. Conversely, Clause 10 is dedicated to improvement. Let's delve deeper into these clauses from the viewpoint of a BIS officer.
In Clause 9 of this standard, the focus is on monitoring, measurement, analysis and evaluation. The organization determines the aspect to monitor, selects appropriate methods, sets timeline for activities and keep documented information as evidence of the outcomes. This is essential to evaluate the effectiveness of the RTS management system. One crucial requirement in this clause is road traffic crash and other road traffic incident investigations. The organization must establish, implement, and maintain the procedures for recording, investigating, and analyzing road traffic crashes and other incidents involving deaths or serious injuries of road users. This is to first determine underlying factors within its control or influence that may cause or contribute to such incidents. Second, identify the need for corrective RTS actions. Third, identify opportunities for preventive RTS measures. The investigation should be conducted promptly. Any identified need for RTS corrective actions or preventive measures shall be addressed following the relevant parts of Clause 10. The results of these investigations must be documented and retained. Next in line is the internal audit, where organization conducts audits at planned interval to verify whether the road traffic safety management system adheres to first, the organization's own requirement for its RTS management system, second, the requirement of this international standard. So who can conduct internal audit? Internal audits are carried out by internal auditors trained by the organization for this purpose. To maintain the impartiality, auditors independent of the audited activity typically conduct these audits. Another important requirement in Clause 9 is the management review. This review allows the management to assess the level of RTSMS implementation within the organization. Top management shall review the organization's road traffic safety management systems at planned intervals to ensure their ongoing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. The last clause, which is Clause 10, focuses on the improvement and comprises two aspects. First, non-conformity and corrective actions. When a non-conformity occurs, the organization must react and, if applicable, take actions to control and correct it. The effectiveness of any corrective action taken is reviewed and changes to the RTSMS are made if necessary. Second is the continual improvement. The organization shall continually improve the suitability, adequacy and effectiveness of the RTS management system.
Now that we know about the standard, let us hear about the certification of the RTS management system. Here are some organizations that can implement RTSMS and take this certification. Organizations transporting people, example, taxi company, state road transport corporation, etc. Organizations transporting goods, transporters having fleet of vehicles, trucks, etc. Hospitals, shopping malls, supermarkets, multinational sales and marketing organizations, airports, schools having school buses, road authorities involved in design and construction of roads, for example NHAI, PWD, etc. Road traffic police departments, other organizations which contribute to road traffic safety.
The concerned regional office processes the application for grant of license. This includes audit of applicant in two stages named as Stage 1 and Stage 2 audits. These audits are carried out to gain sufficient evidence related to conformity to the management systems implemented by the organization. Now, what is Stage 1 audit? The purpose of Stage 1 audit is to assess the organization's preparedness for the Stage 2 audit. During Stage 1 audit, following things are verified: scope and boundary of the implemented management systems, type of services covered, processes involved, and relevant statutory and regulatory requirements. Then confirmation of the information submitted in the application. Then a review of the documented information of the implemented management systems, that is, documented processes and procedures, policies, etc. If any non-conformity is observed in stage 1 visit, the same are communicated. After satisfactory actions are taken and communicated to MSCO with supportive evidence, stage 2 audit is planned by Management System Certification Coordinator. Now, what is stage 2 audit? The purpose of stage 2 audit is to evaluate implementation, including effectiveness of the management system to be certified. Following activities are undertaken during stage 2 audit. Information and evidence about conformity to all requirements of management systems under certification, performance monitoring, measuring, reporting and reviewing against performance objectives and targets, ability to meet statutory, regulatory and contractual requirement, operational control of the processes, etc. Audit of all departments as per schedule is carried out, relevant evidences are collected, verified. Any NC is observed, the same is discussed with auditee, system coordinator and communicated to the auditee for taking appropriate action within a time frame of 45 days as per BIS guidelines terms. Once the audit activities are completed, DDG region takes decision to grant the license to the applicant. The license is granted for 3 years, during which there will be 2 surveillance audits conducted at an interval of 1 year. BIS follows a robust certification process utilizing competent and experienced auditors. Over the years, as the management system stabilizes, the organization can make use of this management system as a tool to improve the system.
The benefits of ISO 39001 are that it reduces accidents, reduces staff absence, reduces repair bills, has promotional purposes, has tender and competitive advantages, improves corporate social responsibility credentials, reduces risk of being sued of negligence, and reduces insurance premiums.